It's Mary Bick. Now, mindset, or another way of saying it, what you think about, you bring about. So this is a super fun topic today. Get ready to get in touch with your mind. Your way of thinking is more powerful than you can even imagine. And so when you think, oh my God, I'm stuck, it's because of up here. It's because of what you're thinking about. That's one of the key reasons women stay stuck. But you know what? They have no idea. They cannot see that it's really the way that they're thinking about things and the choices that they're making and the actions that come from their thinking that's creating their reality. And today, I'm going to prove to you that that is the way that it works. All right? Because the truth is, you are not taking advantage of all of the power that you have by the way that you're thinking, by your very own mind. And I want you to take advantage of it. You know, you want to have a big, bold life in business, you need to really get tight on this, master this, understand. You can say goodbye to being stuck. You can say hello to the things that you want in your life, like freedom and money freedom and time freedom and emotional freedom and all that good stuff. So welcome to the Life and Biz Variety Show, where you're going to learn a variety of breakthroughs and how-tos so you can have a big, bold life in biz. And that is all about freedom, and freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want to, unapologetically. You know, not like, oh, you know, I feel so bad that I want to have time off. Like, you know, we're going to, no. So for those of you who are watching during the replay, howdy. And those of you who are live, howdy. And I want you to share this with some friends. Who do you know? What women friend do you know, excuse me, who is feeling stuck? I'm looking around because I realize my mic is not hooked on. So who do you know who is feeling stuck? Who do you know who's just like, you know, she's talking about the same old thing every single day, and it's getting very old. But that's a clue, isn't it? She's talking about the same thing every day. Nothing changes. So what she's talking about is what she's obviously thinking about. I want you to wonder, you know, how powerful are you? How well do you allow yourself to feel powerful in that place of like, hell yeah, baby, hell yeah, baby. Like, and maybe that's not how you do it. Maybe this is just you. Yes. Right? I mean, I'm like, yeah, baby, yes. Oh my God. I'm so happy. But I know people who are just like, I'm so excited that this is happening. I don't relate to that, but hey, you know, whatever floats your boat, it's at least a recognition. There's such an untapped wellspring within your own capabilities. And this is the thing I see every day when I work with my clients and when I talk all across the country, or when I'm responding to the questions that you have. And I always respond, by the way, personally to every email, every comment, every messenger, everything. I don't farm that out. But what drives me to do the work that I do is because I know you have so much more within that's dying to get out, that you want to pull out. It's just, it's within you. And you're not sure how to make that happen. And what's painful for me is seeing the potential, the wasted potential for just your own life, but for not to mention that ripple effect that can touch the world or your children. You know, as a mom with my clients, sometimes the only way, you know, I'll push their mom guilt button just to have them have a wake up call. You know, but haven't you ever had that moment where you just really want to go for it? You just want to like be balls out. You just want to see what the heck you can do. But you're freaking out, right? Or what about this? Have you ever gotten really tired and maybe weary
by listening to the endless BS that you talk about or regurgitating those same excuses over and over. And so again, this might not be you. You're like, oh, that's not me, Mary. Or it could just be like, oh my God, you're so talking about my friend, right? Because it's so funny. We can see it in other people much easier than when we see it in ourselves, as far as staying stuck, doing the same thing, saying the same thing. We think we're pivoting a little and making a little bit of change. But let me tell you, a little bit of change is not going to change your life. You know, cutting back on coffee, that isn't going to be enough. Or, you know, not eating dessert one night a week, that isn't going to be enough. Or making that follow-up phone call to one potential client, that's not enough. You have to be bold. You have to like go for it. And you can go for it in a way that feels good, that feels, you know, inspiring, without crushing, because I understand fear. So all this week on the Life and Biz Variety Show, it's all mindset. It's all breakthroughs and how-tos. And we're going to be talking about what you're thinking about. We're going to be talking about fears. We're going to talk about what triggers you. We're going to be talking about your stories and that whispering ghosts of the past that sometimes, you know, maybe they're not whispering so much. So I know you've heard the terms mindset, personal development, self-reflection, manifestation, and some of you might not really buy into that. Because I know some of my clients definitely start off with like, they've heard it, but they might not have like done the deep dive work. And it's really because frankly, a lot of time they're so busy just chugging along and putting out fires and building their businesses. It's when they have that moment of stuckness. It's when they have that moment where they hit the wall. It's when they have that moment where they feel like they've just tried everything and they are like, I don't know what else to do now. That's when they're open to recognizing that it's their thinking that is actually putting a lid on their capabilities. Recently, I had a client who I'll share her story in a second. One other term I want to throw out there to you is the term cognitive behaviorism. A cognitive behavior theory or therapy. Cognitive, your thoughts; behaviors, your actions. Your thoughts lead to actions. So, you know, that's what I did as a therapist. So for those of you who are new to me, I'm Mary Bicknell. Welcome. It's nice to see you. And I was a therapist. Now I'm a life and business strategist for women-owned businesses, where I help them, women just like you, become brave and bold enough to finally just get what they want out of life. And unapologetically, you know, not like, none of that. Like, oh, I feel so guilty. None of that. Because they're tired of being stuck. So cognitive behavior, that's the practice that I did as a therapist. And so that really is along the lines of mindset. I'm a believer that some of these terms, they really overlap. You know, some people get triggered by the word manifest. I'm going to manifest my life. That feels very woo-woo, right? And other people like the term self-development, in a way, says to them that they have something wrong with them. I don't believe that at all. I believe this. For those of you who are moms, I know you read that book, like What to Expect When You're Pregnant, right? So to me, it's the same thing. Or if you have diabetes, or you have something else, or you don't know how to you don't know how to bake a cake. You know, there's certain piece of that recipe that you have to understand. It's no different for yourself, for myself. It's no different. I mean, I am a voracious reader of like personal self-development because I don't like being stuck. I like to be growing and moving forward. And because you know what? I want to be free. I want to be free, honestly, of this stuff. Sometimes those voices in my head or that negativity, and I don't like that feeling. Today, I want you to walk away with a solid knowing that it truly comes from proving to yourself that your thoughts have created your life. So I have this client, and her business is, she's an analyst. So this means she dissects these theories and argues for things one way or another. And, you know, when she came to me, she was feeling like she wasn't really satisfied in her life and her business. And so she had never done that self-reflective work. She thought it was BS. So I'm going to tell you how I worked with her. I'm going to give you the same exercises how I worked with her that made a shift for her. You're going to be able to do those as well. I want to just give you bold action breakthroughs and how-tos every time you are listening to me. I don't want to waste your time. So anyhow, she doesn't like the word manifest. She doesn't buy into the whole idea of meditation. She doesn't believe in saying, hey, good job, or that kind of that positive thinking. So when we work together, we had to get in a place of being logical. And sometimes that's what happens with prospective clients is, I talk a lot in my business. And if you've heard me speak before, you recognize that I ask you to be logical, meaning remove the emotion sometimes and try and be in a place of analyzing. Now, there's plenty of times that I'm very much about trust your gut. But sometimes when we want to move forward and we are in that stuck place, if we don't allow ourselves to back up and look at our lives like it's a movie screen, and us being the observer and getting into a place of logically observing without that emotional trigger, that emotional heat, right? If we don't do that, then we just stay stuck. We have to have a process. So one of the things I want you to do, and as we're walking through this example, I want you to practice being the observer. Whenever you feel like, oh my God, here this thing is happening again. That's a sign. That's a sign. When you are in that moment where you're like, crap, this is happening again. That's a sign for you to become an observer and back up and get into a place of logic and write down what happened. So I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a minute. So anyhow, I'm going to call her Sally just to keep her privacy. So anyhow, Sally didn't like the idea of being like, good job, Sally, saying that to herself. She just thought that was ridiculous. But she did recognize that she had a lot of negative thinking and that she was unhappy. She was really unhappy because just every day she was beating herself up and having that self-doubt, and she would just be trapped in that cycle. So to prove to her that changing her thinking could really create that big, bold life she wanted, we started out asking what did she even want in her life? Well, maybe you have the same issue, is that you're not really sure what you want out of your life. And this happens very, very frequently when I ask women these questions, what do you want out of your life? Excuse me. A lot of people can say, well, I want to work less. I want to make more. I want to be thin. I want to be rich. I want to be tall. Okay. But really, what do you really want out of your life? What's calling to you? If you didn't have any worries about what people thought, if you had all the money and free time in the world, what would you want? She still wasn't able to do that. So what we did instead is we started with the opposite. What don't you want anymore in your life? What do you not want in your personal life and your business life? And so what I want you to do, can you relate to that? Give me a high five. Give me a love. Give me a like, right? If you can relate to having times in your life, you're like, I don't even know what I want anymore. Some of that, by the way, has to do with codependence. That's a story for another day, how I didn't know what I wanted after I had a horrible breakup. Just to show you, stories. So you might not know what you want, right? So write down right now 10 things you don't want in your life. What is it that you don't want? When we start from that perspective, sometimes, frankly, it's way easier. Let me give you some examples of things I hear. I don't want to work all the time. I'm tired of missing out on my kids' soccer game. I'm tired of feeding my kids what I always say. I was tired of feeding River and John rotisserie chicken and burritos, and it was exhausting. I was tired of working for somebody else that was dumber than me. I was tired of not making as much money as I wanted. All of these things. So what is it that you don't want? Maybe you don't want any of that. Maybe you don't want to be making the money that you are making right now. Maybe you don't want to wonder how you're going to have, 3 vacations a year. Maybe you're wondering, you don't want to be 10 pounds overweight anymore. What is it for you? So write those things down. Now, back up, become the observer, get into a place of logic. And for each one of these things, I want you to write down what were the circumstances that led to that. For example, you have 10 pounds you want to lose. What were the circumstances that you even have those 10 pounds? What were the circumstances? What were the thoughts? What were the actions or behaviors? What were the choices that led to you having 10 pounds? Right? What were you thinking? What are you thinking about those 10 pounds? Another way of looking at this for business stuff, what would it be if you are working all the time? You know, you're like, I don't want to work all the time anymore. I've had clients that have missed major events in their families' lives, and it's been really, really detrimental because then they do get in that cycle of negative thinking. They get in that cycle of negative thinking because they're like, how am I ever going to get ahead? How am I ever going to work less? I'm working all the time. I'm always going to miss their event. I'm a terrible mother. I'm a terrible person. I can't even work it. All of this, right? And it's just becomes like this self-perpetuating. You've heard that, right? Self-perpetuating cycle negatively. What about a self-perpetuating cycle for the positive mindset? So what led to, let's use this business client, the one that was like, has missed out on things. What led to that? What led to her missing out? Well, for example, some of her thoughts were, well, gosh, if I take my foot off the gas with my business, I'm going to make less money. I'm the primary bread earner in my family. I'm going to be making less money. What am I going to do now? That's one thing. The other thing too is, she was thinking, well, if I say no to a client, they're going to quit on me. They're just never going to hire me again. Then they're never going to refer business to me again. So can you see how even just those two thoughts can keep her in that cycle? What about this one? This is very common. I'm wondering if you have this one. Ready? Nobody can do it as well as I can. Oh, that can keep you stuck. That can keep you working all the time. So those are some of the ideas. Those are some of the thoughts that can keep you stuck. So if you wrote down 10 things that you didn't want in your personal or business life, and you were able to back up, be the observer and be logical, and recognize what were the thoughts that kept me stuck. What were then the behaviors that I did? So if she was thinking, oh my God, if I don't service this client right now, they're never going to come back. So her behavior then was, she missed out on a major event with her family. That was the action. She followed through with that client instead of having a good boundary. Maybe it's the wrong client. And it's all these other things that come into play, but she didn't have a good boundary, missed out. So once she was able to logically back up, become the observer, and recognize that my thinking was, oh my God, I'm worried that they're going to not want to hire me anymore, so I'm going to do whatever they ask. She was able to recognize how her thinking led to that behavior, that led to that action that ultimately was terrible when she missed out on that big thing. Same thing with my client that I was saying that came in and was like, that thinking stuff. So what we did is she was able to write down what she did not want any longer, and that is working all the time. It's a very common theme with my clients. And recognizing, oh my God, she's trying to move up within her company, and it's really like a private practice, but she wants to move up in it. And she recognized this is what she's doing. So she was able to trace it back. So once you're able to trace things back, then you're able to be in that place of logic. Like, okay, so if your thinking got you stuck and your thinking created the behavior and the action that led to the thing you didn't want, then it's logical. If you change your thinking, you will have a new action. It will lead to a new behavior or a new outcome. Right? Come on, it's so logical. Let's be in a place of logic. So what would be a few things that you know you want? So if you listed out 10 things you know you didn't want, think about 10 things that you want. Let's give you an example. One thing that you might want is you may want to work less hours. I want to work less so that I can, and you can assign an emotion to that, right? So that I can have more free time with my kids. And how would that feel? That would feel so great. So if you step back and you get into logic and you can become the observer of, if I want to work less, that leads to more times with my kid, then you can actually be up in a place of analyzing, well, how could that happen? How could that happen? The same thing as if you analyze that negative thinking that led to that action. How did I start getting in the cycle of negative thinking? You know, it all comes with choice. You get to choose right now in this moment. Ready? Snap your fingers, do a little dance, be in a place where you're choosing the outcome that you want and the thoughts that you want, that you recognize are going to lead to what you want. So that's your assignment. 10 things you don't want, 10 things you do want. Those 10 things that you don't want, what led up to those? What were the triggers? What were the circumstances that you allowed that to perpetuate? The next time I see you, we're going to be talking about your blind spots. Ooh, this is so great. This is so juicy. What's the thing that's holding you back? What is the thing that you can't see that's holding you back? We're also going to talk about triggers this week. We're going to talk about money. So here's Mary Bicknell signing off. Send me a list of your 10 things. I'd love to see them. And here's to you having a big, bold life in biz and having all the freedom you could ever desire. Talk to you soon.